So we're on page 17, and we're still graphing inequalities, okay? So when we have an inequality and it doesn't tell us how to graph this line, you can do it two different ways. You can put it in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, and you would see here the y-intercept, which is the pink point, and then here would be the slope. You can use this method, or you can use a table of values. It's easy to put 0, 0 and do the x, y intercepts, or you can just plot points using plotting points, okay? Either method is good, okay? When you choose to graph this line, you can use method 1 or method 2. It doesn't matter which way you do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you both ways, and then you choose how you want to do it, okay? Oftentimes, it's easier to do slope-intercept form, but it doesn't matter. It's about which way you choose to do it, and you just do it that way, because it doesn't matter. So let's look at y equals mx plus b. So first we're going to do it this way, and then after we're going to do it using the table of values. Okay? I'm going to do it two ways, and then you choose how you like to do it. Okay? So we're going to put this into y equals and get y by itself. Oops, I'm going to write this down. Okay, I just need a piece of paper. So we need to get y by itself. So this side has y on it. So we have to get rid of the 2 and we have to get rid of the x. So I always think if y needs to be alone, this is like me, this is my best friend who's close, and this is kind of far away, my neighbor. If you have to get rid of your best friend or your neighbor, who do you get rid of first? Yeah, you get rid of the neighbor because you love your best friend. So let's get rid of this one first. So I have to move it to the other side. So I'm going to minus x and minus x from the other side. This is 0. Now I have 2y less than. Now usually you would put this 4 first, but because in the slope-intercept form the x term goes first, we're just going to write this first. And because this has nothing in front of it, it's really positive, so it becomes a plus 4. Okay, so just write the x term first. So now, y wants to be alone. How do I get rid of the 2? This says 2 times y, so I do the opposite. What's the opposite of times? Divide. So if I go divide by 2, 2 over 2 is 1, so I have to divide everything by 2. So this is 1y. And what number is hiding here in front of the x? Yeah, a 1. So I just put that in. Now this says -1/2, so I'm going to move that in front of the x. Okay, because we have to have a fraction in front of the x for the slope y-intercept form. Well, we don't need a fraction, but it's good to have a fraction. And then this, if I put it in my calculator, it simplifies to 2. Okay? This becomes the y-intercept. That's the point we start at, step 1. And then this becomes my slope. And if I have -1 over 2, the top number is always about up and down. The bottom number is left and right. Right is positive, left is negative. Here, this is -1, so I'm going to go down. This is +2, so I'm going to go right. So I start by, on the y-axis up and down, it says put a point at 2. And because it's +2, you're going to go up 2. If it was -2, you would put it down here at -2. Now, I'm at my point, I stay at my point, and it says go down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. I put a point. Don't put a point here, only put a point after you've done both. Down 1, right 2, put a point. Down 1, right 2, put a point. Down 1, right 2. You don't have to put lots of points. I only do that because I'm bad at drawing straight lines, and I'm just using a piece of paper that's folded. I'm not using a ruler. So now I go to draw my line, and I automatically want to draw a solid line because that's just my habit. But I have to look up here and go, is it dashed or solid? When you have these inequalities, it's dashed. And when you have an equal sign in your inequality, it's solid. So here, this is going to be dashed. So I have to be careful and do a dashed line, because sometimes I forget and I do everything solid because it's just habit. But always make sure you go up and look. So now I have to decide what side I'm going to shade. Oh, no. Yes, I would do that, but I want to show you how to, say you wanted to use a table of values to graph the line. So let's do that next, and then we will shade. You don't do both of these, you just choose one. So table of values. I'm just going to use this method, the XY intercepts. I'm going to put 0 here and 0 here because it's easy. So we say if x is 0, and then I write this down. Wherever there's an x, I'm going to put a 0. Okay, so this is 0 plus 2y, and I have 2y is less than 4. Y wants to be alone, so I'm going to divide by 2 to get rid of it. That's 1y is less than 2, because you put that in your calculator and it becomes 2. But we don't need the 1. And now I have to read it to, oh no, I don't have to read it, I'm not coloring. So this says if x is 0, y is 2. That's my first point. Now we do it again, but I'm going to do it again for y. If y equals 0, so if y is 0, we have to find out what x is going to be. So write out the inequality. X plus 2y is less than 4. Wherever the y is, I'm going to put a 0. So that's 2 times 0 is 0, so I'm just left with this. So here, if y is 0, x is 4. So those are my 2 points. So let's plot the points. Pretend this line is not here, because we're just graphing this line a different way. So x is left and right, y is up and down. So it says don't go left and right, just go up 2. Don't go left and right, go up 2. So there's my point. This says go right 4, but don't go up and down. Go right 4, but don't go up and down. So you can see I have 2 points, and they are on the line that we just drew. And so we'll get the same line. So it doesn't matter if you use the slope-intercept method or you use the table of values. You're still going to get the same line. So you can do it this way, or you can do it this way. It doesn't matter. Okay, you choose which way you like to do it best. Okay, sometimes you might do it this way, and sometimes you might do it this way. It's okay. So now we have to choose a point here as a test point to see which side is true and which side is false. The easiest test point is 0, 0. I can never choose a point on the boundary line. Okay, so I only can choose 0, 0 if this does not go through here. And you can choose any point you want. It doesn't have to be 0, 0, but 0, 0 is definitely easier. So there's my inequality. I'm just going to substitute these two values in. 2 times 0 is 0, so this whole side is 0. Now I'm going to read it left to right because we're taking math and English, so we're going to go left to right. When I read it left to right, I'm walking, and I come across 0, and then I touch the small side of the inequality. So when I touch the small side, I say small. 0 is smaller than 4. Is 0 smaller than 4? Is 0 smaller than 4? Here's 0, here's 4. Is 0 smaller than 4? Yeah. So this statement is true. That means this point is true. That means all the points on this side are true, and all the points on this side are false. If I take any point from this side and substitute it into the inequality up here, it's going to give me a false statement. And anything from this side, any points from this side, and I substitute them in here, it's going to give me a true statement. And we always color the true side. Okay? Let's look at the next one. So I'm going to show you this one both ways again. Okay? So here, y equals mx plus b. And here it will be table of values. And you just choose which way you like best. So this is y equals mx plus b has to have 3 terms. This only has 2. I have the y and I have the x, and I have nothing here. I have nothing here to represent the y-intercept. What's the only number that represents nothing? 0. Yeah, so I can rewrite this as 0 for nothing. Doesn't change it, it's just 0. So this becomes my y-intercept. Oh, what number's in front of the x? Yeah, it's hiding, the 1. So the 1 is my slope. Oh, but that's not a fraction. We need it as a fraction. So let's put it over 1. So that means, because they're both positive, I'm going to go up 1 and right 1. So I put a point at nothing. What is nothing? Nothing. That means on the y-axis, I'm going to put a point at 0. Nothing. I just write a 0. Then I go up 1, right 1. 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 There. That's enough points to make a straight line. And now I want to draw my straight line, and I want to draw it as solid, but I have to remember, is it solid or dashed? Now because there's no equal sign, I know it's dashed. So be careful, don't do a solid line just because it's habit. Always go up and check to see if it should be solid or dashed. Okay? So say I wanted to do it as a table of values instead. That's okay. Let's try it. I start this way, 0, 0, with the xy intercept, just because it's easier. So I go, if x equals 0, what's y? So let's write it down. Okay, so this confuses some people. So what I do is I just change this inequality to an equal sign. Okay? It's okay, it just helps your brain. So here, if x is 0, wherever the x is, put a 0. So if x is 0, y is 0. It says y is 0. Oh, okay. So if x is 0, y is 0. That's my first point. Now if I go y is 0, that's my second one. If y equals 0, let's copy it down. So let's write it as an equal sign. So if y is 0, I'm going to put a 0 here. Oh, if y is 0, x is 0. Well, that didn't help me. I got the same point. So really, I have the same point written twice. Okay, so I'm just going to not use that. So what I'm going to do is just go, that's okay. I can just do by plotting points. I can just pick any other point I want to get another x value to get another point. So I'm just going to pick any number for x. Let's pick 2. It doesn't matter. Okay? So I'm putting here for 2. So let's go if x equals 2. Let's write the inequality down. Where x is, I'm going to put a 2, but I'm going to write it as an equal sign to help my brain. So I'm going to put a 2 here. So if x is 2, y is 2. Okay, there's my second point. So now let's plot these points. 0, 0, that's the middle. 2, 2, so over 2, up 2. There's my 2 points. And I can connect them, and there's my line. So if I start with a table of values, and I start with the easier one, which is xy intercepts, most times I will get 2 points, but sometimes it will, if it goes through the origin, I won't get 2 points, and then that's okay. I just pick any other x value, and I'll get another point. Okay, or you could just do it this way. It doesn't matter which way you use. Okay, so now I've used the slope intercept method. I've used the table of values. Don't do both, just choose one. Now we have to color one side. Now because this goes through the origin and 0, 0 is on the boundary, I cannot choose 0, 0. I have to choose another point. Any point I want. So I'm just going to choose this one. It doesn't matter which point you choose. It has to be on this side or this side. It cannot be on the boundary. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And don't go up and down. There. So 5 is x, and this one is y. So I have to substitute this point into the inequality. So So x is 5, so put the 5 here. Y is 0. Now I have to read it. I'm going to go from this side to this side. So 0, and I touch the small side first. 0 is smaller than 5. 0 is smaller than 5. Here's 5 and here's 0. Is 0 smaller than 5? Yeah, that's true. So when I substitute this point in, it becomes true, a true statement. That means all the points on this side will be true statements. All the points on this side, when I substitute them into the inequality, will be false statements. So this side is true, this side is false. What side do we color? We always color the true side. Okay? Next page. Now, we have a little problem, or you can think of it as a rule to remember when you're putting it into slope-intercept form. At the end, when you divide, and if it's dividing by a negative number, this sign, you have to flip it to the other side, the other direction. So I'm going to show you how to do this, okay? This rule you have to remember, okay? So let's do slope-intercept method. Okay, let's write this down. So here, I want y to be by itself. What number is hiding here? 1. So I have to get rid of the 2 and I have to get rid of the 1, the negative 1. So if this is me, I'm the y, this is my best friend, I put a heart for my best friend, and the one that's kind of far away from me is my neighbor. If I have to get rid of one of them, do I get rid of my best friend or do I get rid of my neighbor? Yeah, I get rid of my neighbor. I'm going to get rid of him first. So to move him to the other side, I just do the opposite, plus 2, minus 2. If it's a plus, you do minus. And if it's a minus, you do plus. Opposite. So that's gone. So now I have minus 1y. Okay. Now y wants to be alone, so I have to get rid of this negative 1. This says negative 1 times y. What's the opposite of times? Divide. So I'm going to get rid of it. Negative 1 over negative 1 is 1. So I have to divide that by 1, divide that by negative 1, divide that by negative 1. And I go, ooh, look at this, I'm dividing by a negative number. This is a negative number, so I have to flip the sign. So when I divide by a negative number, I have to remember to flip the sign. So if the crocodile or alligator is this way, I have to change them to be the other way. Okay, so here same over same is 1, so I have 1y. What's hiding in front of the x? Yeah, a 1. So let's write that. 1 over negative 1x. And if I put this in my calculator and make it more simple, it becomes plus 2. We don't really need the 1 in front of the y, so let's erase that. So, when I divide by a negative 1, I have to flip the sign to the other direction. So that's my y-intercept. That's my slope. Okay, the y-intercept is the point. Okay, so here I have to put a point at 2, 1, 2. And then I have to go up 1, left 1. And I go left because he's negative. Up 1 because he's positive. So up 1, left 1. Up 1, left 1. Up 1, left 1. Up 1, left 1. Okay, that's lots of points. So I'm going to join them up. Wait a minute. I sometimes just want to do a straight line, a solid line, but I have to go and check. Is it dashed or solid? Yeah, because there's no equal sign, I have to make it this dashed. So be careful. It's a dashed line. There. Okay. So now I have to decide what side is true and what side is false. I can choose 0, 0 as my test point because it does not go through the boundary line. So 0, 0. I'm going to substitute this into my original equation. I don't use this one because if I've made a mistake here, I'll make a mistake here. So I always go back up to the original. So let's substitute it in. This is just 2. Let's read it. So 2, I read it this way. 2, and I touch the big side of the sign first. 2 is bigger than 0. 2 is bigger than 0. Here's 2 and here's 0. Is 2 bigger than 0? Yeah, 2 is bigger than 0. So this point makes a true statement. So all the points here are true statements, will make a true statement, and all the points here will make false statements when you substitute those points into the inequality. And what side do we color? We always color the true side. Okay. Next one. Oh, if I graph this inequality, look, it's already in the form y equals mx plus b. Y, 2x, this. This is easy. Okay. I don't have to do lots of work. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, okay, this is my y-intercept, and this is my slope. My slope is 2, but I want it as a fraction, so I just go over 1. So I'm going to put my point at -4, and then I'm going to go up 2 because it's positive, and right 2 because it's positive. Okay, so here, because this is a -4, I always do it on the y-axis, I have to go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now I have to go up 2, right 1. Up 2, right 1. Up 2, right 1. Up 2, right 1. Now I'm going to draw my line. Wait, stop. Is it dashed or solid? Ah, see the equal sign? So we know it's solid. Sorry for coughing so much. I think I got something stuck in my throat. So now I have to decide, do I color this side or this side? So I pick the easiest point, 0, 0. I substitute it into this inequality. Two times 0 is 0. Oops. And it's -4. So now I read it left to right, like English. I go 0. I touch the small side first, so 0 is smaller than -4. Is 0 smaller than -4? Is 0 smaller than -4? Is 0 smaller than -4? No, that's false. So when I take this and substitute it into here, I make a false statement. That means all the points on this side will make false statements when you substitute it in, and all the points on this side will make a true statement when you substitute it in. What side do we color? We always color the true side. Now a solid line, does that mean we want it to be part of the solution set? Yeah, so here the boundary line is also true. So solid means yes, we want this to be part of the solution set, so this is true. If I look at this, when it's dashed, it means we don't want the boundary line as part of the solution set, and the boundary line will make false statements. Okay, so solid means all these points will be true, and dashed means all these points will be false. Okay, let's look at number 6. So I'm just going to use the y equals mx plus b method, the slope-intercept method. Okay, so y wants to be alone, so I have to get rid of the 3 and the 2. So this is me. Close to me is my best friend, and far away is my neighbor. If I have to get rid of one of them, which one would I get rid of first? I say I want to get rid of one. Who do I get rid of? The neighbor. I don't like them as much as my best friend, so let's get rid of the neighbor. So let's move this to the other side. So I do opposite. Okay. And minus 2x from both sides. 2x minus 2x is 0. So I'm left with this. Minus 3y. Now I'm going to write this first. Oh, well, that's nothing, so I don't write it. Anyway. So y wants to be alone, so I have to get rid of this 3. So this says negative 3 times y. What's the opposite of times? Yeah, divide. So I'm going to divide by negative 3 to get rid of this, but I have to do the same to the other side. So that becomes 1y, and a negative and a negative. If I check this on my calculator, it's going to be a positive. Oops, not a 2, a 3. X. Here I have to have 3 terms. Y, something with an x, and a number. I have the y. We don't really need the 1. I have the x, but then I have plus nothing. What's the only number that represents nothing? Yeah, 0. So let's write it again. Oh, wait a minute. What's the rule? The rule says whenever I divide by a negative number, I have to flip the sign. So here I have to flip the sign because I'm dividing by a negative number. Don't forget that. We almost forgot that. So this, I have to erase it. Put it the other way. See? It goes this way. Okay. So now, what represents nothing? Yeah, 0. There. So that's my y-intercept, my little point I put. And then this number is my slope, 2 over 3. 2 is positive, so we go up. 3 is positive, so we go right. So let's put the point at 0. So here I have to put a point on the y-axis, so I put it on at 0. And then it says go up 2, right 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Up 2, 1, 2, 3. Up 2, 1, 2, 3. There, that's enough points. I'm going to draw my line. Oh, wait a minute, is it dashed or solid? Ah, when I have these, it's dashed, and when I have these, it's solid. Okay, so this should be dashed. Now I have to decide what side to color. But look, I usually pick 0, 0, but he's going through the boundary line, so I cannot choose that. So I can choose any number on this graph that's not, any point on this graph that's not on the boundary line. So I'm just going to choose this one. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then don't go up and down. There, 5, 0. So that's x, that's y. And I'm going to substitute this point into my inequality. So x is 5. And y is 0. 3 times 0 is 0. 2 times 5 is 10. So I just have 10 is less than 0. There. So I'm going to read it. 10. And I touch the small side first. 10 is smaller than 0. 10 is smaller than 0. Let's look. Here's 10, and here's 0. Is 10 smaller than 0? Is 10 smaller than 0? No, so that's false. That's a false statement. So that means all the points on this side will make false statements, and all the points on this side will make true statements when I substitute them into the inequality. So what side do I color? Yeah, I always color the true side. So you have to remember, when you divide by a negative number, flip the sign. Okay? Let's go to the next one. So number 7 looks a little different. Okay? This question, we had a y and an x, but we didn't have the y-intercept. We didn't have a third term. And that was okay. I could still put it into the slope-intercept form, but this time I only have an x. So when I only have an x or a y, I know it's going to be horizontal or vertical, but I don't know which one. So all I do is I'm going to make it x equal or y equals. Here I have an x, so I'm going to make it x equals. So I just rewrite it. Okay, let's just make an equal sign because we're used to equal signs. If I want x by itself, I can move this x to the other side. So if that's minus x, I go plus x, plus x. X minus x is 0. So then I have 2 equals x. Now you say, why did I do that? You don't have to, but in my brain, it makes things easier. So because I don't have a y here, I don't put it in the form y equals mx plus b. I use a table of values. And the reason I make it x equals, because then I can read it. X is equal to 2. X is equal to 2. X is always 2. No matter what y is, x is 2. So where do I put the 2? Do I put it under the x or the y? X is always 2. Yeah, put it under the x. Now you can choose any number you want for y. There's my points. And this, when I plot these points, I'll know if it's horizontal or a vertical line. So x is left and right, y is up and down. So I go 2, 0, 1, 2, there. 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2. So I go over 2, up 2. Ah, look, my points are growing up. So I know that this is going to be a vertical line. But wait a minute, is it dashed or solid? It has an equal sign here, so it's going to be solid. Okay? So now we have to decide, is it going to be colored on the left or the right? I can choose 0, 0, because it doesn't go through this boundary line. And I'm going to substitute it into this inequality. Oh, there's no y. That's okay, it just means less work for you. So here I just have to go 2 minus 0 instead of x. There's no y. Who cares? It just makes it easier for you. So that's 2. So now I read it this way. 2, and I touch the big side first. So 2 is bigger than 0. Is 2 bigger than 0? Is 2 bigger than 0? Is 2 bigger than 0? Yeah, 2 is bigger than 0. So this point is true. That means all the points on this side are true. That means all the points, when I substitute them into this inequality, will be false. And what side do I color? Yeah, I color the true side. There.